don't think you're supposed to say that on
Probably not.
Probably get in trouble. Okay.
No, we're kind of high. Okay.
You're high?
No, that's not what was said. Keeping it very appropriate today.
Sorry. Okay, I'm focused.
Okay.
So we were having a conversation about needs and getting needs met. We talked about it our first video.
We did.
We were thinking about it again today, but in a different way.
Okay. So, quickly put, right, we all have certain needs. Came to my mind for a couple of reasons this week. We'll go through it quick. Kind of just noticing, doing some more things with the kids around the house, noticing how our day-to-day life, little activities, I actually had a chance to do, some karate practice with one of the kids, and watching how we just have a tendency, right, to kind of, me in particular, I focus well on one thing, not multiple things at once, but it's easy to get stuck, notice one thing and get stuck on it, and when you're focused on that one thing, other things in our lives kind of get into a rough spot pretty quick. We've seen this with, for example, I think for kids during the social distancing, it gets easy for a lot of other things that they need to be missed because they don't have the same, social interactions and same possibilities.
So what are the needs that kids need and we as adults need? Sorry, I'm talking with my big hands again. Keep my big hands to myself.
We don't have any personal judgment or worries or anxieties in our brains. None of us do.
We have a headache, but that's okay. I am in it.
So 5 things, real quick. William Glasser, many years ago, had a lot of things to say about needs. Anyways, you can Google it. It's fantastic. But he said there's 5 things, right? First one, easy survival, right? I mean, it's home, food, clothes kind of stuff, right? Air to breathe. Yes, we need that. Everybody needs it. Other 4, in no particular order, love and belonging, power, kind of goes in there with control as well. We're not all sounding like dictators, right? Freedom, and then fun. And it's interesting, we don't always include all of those, but real quick, so survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, fun.
Okay, so with this whole situation since March, all of those things have kind of been challenged.
Yeah, I think so.
Because survival, like when you go to the store, everything's different, or people's financial situations are different. And then what's the next one?
So, love and belonging,
love
like
and belonging.
The social distancing.
Social distancing. Okay, what's the next one?
Power, and this one's interesting. Like, so again, like I think I initially, when I heard it, I thought of like, yeah, we're not all weird, crazy, dictators and such. But power has more to do with us seeing ourselves as capable, as mattering in our world, being able to achieve certain things. That has to do with power. And again, like if being out and being social and interacting with people or being at jobs and things like that can have a lot to do with power. So you take part of that away, if you're not having that same face-to-face or same validation or same like achievement, that power is going to go down real quick.
Well, and does power and control kind of go together?
It can. Yeah.
It can.
Yeah,
so like
sure.
when you're being told you have to wear a mask here, or you can't go here, you can't buy this, can that affect the need of power?
Well,
too?
and even in that one, right? So when you're saying when you're having certain restrictions placed on, I'm
not saying they're good
either
way or bad. I'm just saying
absolutely.
Can that affect that?
I'm with you on that. Because you think about it, when you get those restrictions, it's easy to either feel like, again, I'm mean, jumping too far, but it's easy to feel like you don't matter as much. If you're in a position, for example, that it's like, well, wait, I need this, well, I have to have that, or you're telling me I can't do these things unless I have this, it affects the amount of power you see yourself with, right?
What's the next one?
Freedom. That one's easy. That one's easy, right?
That's that one.
But yeah, the freedom, like you have to, like, it really digs into creativity. It digs into feeling like you're able to do the things that you need to do. Now, we could go into all sorts of philosophical discussion on absolute freedom. That's not today, but it's like we all understand we can't have that, because at some point I'm going to affect your freedom and you're going to affect mine.
But freedom is a need.
It is.
It's one of the needs
it's
that
a
people
need.
have.
Right, people
have, everyone has that need.
You will lose a lot of things fast if you just have zero freedom. So there's a balance on that.
Okay, what's the next one?
Fun.
Oh.
Yeah,
You're not having fun?
And no. Easily put. And some, you could word it as joy, happiness, but then we're all going to argue about what that really is. But like there is a piece to this, right? You want, like, the reason we get out of bed in the morning is to do something that we're going to enjoy. Now, no, it doesn't mean like, oh wait, I'm not going to do that because it's not going to be very much fun. Well, yeah, that's life. But there needs to be a certain amount of things in the day where we feel like, hey, I had some fun with that.
Okay, so bringing this back to when you were talking about James and karate. So when we say, there was the article that you read and it said, okay, my child is struggling because of this one thing. No, we can be struggling because of lots of these things. So how do we help our children get their needs met? How do we get our needs met? How do we do that in these times? If all those things are being challenged, how do we still meet them?
But so really quick, one thing I like about what Glasser had to say about those 5 needs is that, respectively, every day is different, right? So today, I might be struggling more with, let's just say, freedom, right? But if that was a struggle for today, that doesn't necessarily mean that tomorrow that's going to be the number one.
So they can rotate in.
Right, yeah, like what we need each day may shift.
And what our
probably
kids may
will.
need each day will shift.
Right, and so that's some of the point as we talk about this. There will be a day that, for example, as we see with our kids, there'll be a certain activity or something they were planning on or hoping to do that didn't happen or couldn't happen. And that's going to be a hard day for that. And part of that, that goes back to the old ones, you validate that. But you also, it's easy when something gets really hard. It's easy for the rest of them and the other ones to struggle. And so
the rest of the
needs,
struggle.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I noticed that, in the same way that, with karate, it's like, you have that base that, like you settle in. When I was working with James and he would see something different, it's like, wait, now we shifted on everything. And so you kind of need to run through each one and go, where am I at on this move? Where am I at on this? Same thing will happen for us with this in our core needs, our basic 5, that when one thing we notice, if we're feeling particularly lonely, we're probably going to have to go through the other needs too and go, okay,
but if they're struggling, how do you get it met? If they're being challenged, and let's say, okay, freedom's being challenged or power or those things are being challenged, how do I get them? How does anybody get them met? If that's what's being, do you understand what I'm saying?
So meaning specific.
Yes.
So if you're talking about feeling.
So I know the needs, but then how do I meet them if they're being challenged right now?
So if you're not feeling much love and belonging.
Yeah.
Well, there's, again, and that's the personal piece, right? So you're gonna feel.
I'm feeling very loved and very belonged.
Everybody's gonna feel love and belonging just a little bit different, right? You could do 5 love languages and all that kind of thing, but some of that's going to be recognizing what it is that is important to you. So, right, that's why some of this is really hard. Some people are saying, look, I only feel love and belonging when I'm out and face to face with other people.
So then how do they get their needs met if they can't do that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, right? It is, for some people, it is easy enough to still do the video chats and whatever. Right now, where we're at, it's okay to be in a little bit bigger groups outdoors and things like that. And that's a way to do it. So it's part of figuring out, even if you have to be 6 feet apart, you can still have a conversation and still connect with people.
Okay.
Right. And it's recognizing my whole point with that one is that can't be the only thing that's needs to be adjusted in life when you realize that your needs aren't met. You know what I mean? So even when you're recognizing, hey, I'm lonely and I want that love and belonging, you're probably also recognizing that I probably also need to recognize where my power and my freedom and just getting out and doing something fun or doing something in the house that's fun.
So
Whoever
it's
you're
taking
with.
control of your needs.
Right. Yeah, it's
to
a little
get
more,
them met.
little more like, dare we say, holistic. It's more of a approach where we're looking at it. We can't just focus on the problem and just hyper, kind of get into that one thing, because even once you get that met, some of those other ones are going to be struggling. And so it's being aware and being able to talk through with, family, loved ones, close people. Talk about it with your kids. Where are we at with this? To balance out each of those areas, because the social part is a big deal, but I would expect that even just having that social part down, the rest of those are also going to be struggling a little bit. And so if you're putting focus to each area,
it's being aware what your needs are, so that when you are struggling or your kids are struggling, you can say, hey, I see you're struggling with this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these areas and see how we can help each area to be better.
And like, just to give like a last example, like for example, like if you're talking about one of the different ones, I mean, we talked about love and belonging just a little bit, but if we're talking about, power or even freedom, it's being able to go through, if you're child or yourself, if you're feeling like I can't do these sorts of things, I honestly think that's why we see a lot of people working on their yards now, or what can I change? Or I can change something about my house. It can be sitting down and having your kids choose to do certain things and giving them a little more freedom to choose certain,
so giving
things
maybe
that may
for
be
a
in their
child,
life, right?
it could be giving them more freedom to choose.
Yeah.
For an adult, it could mean.
And there's tons of different ways, right?
Ways.
So I'm just giving that part as an example, and that power piece, making sure that you've got an opportunity to feel like you matter, like something that's important, and that's being able to talk it through with someone. Sometimes we won't even see it in that moment. It's important to be able to sit down and whether whoever it is that you can have more of an in-depth talk with, to go, wait, where am I at with this? Like, I feel like I really need this. Sometimes you just need someone to kind of bounce some ideas off of, so that you find different ways. Because we all kind of want to go back to default, go back to, this is how I used to do it before. Well, a lot about the world has changed at the moment. And so we're having to meet those needs. It's still possible to meet them, but we have to meet them in different ways. Yeah.
And it's going on for longer than I think people thought. Like at first it was like we were told, okay, a couple weeks, and now you're looking at a longer process. So meeting the needs still and recognizing them and being aware, so that you can be aware, rather than having it cause issues like depression and anxiety and anger and frustration and those things.
Well, it's hit people really hard and really fast in a lot of ways. And so that's why I mentioned it for what it is. Obviously, I mean, if you're trying to meet those needs and you still just feel like it's not working. I mean, that's mental health professionals and things like that. But that's part of the point to this, is let's balance, who you're talking to. Therapists and mental health professionals can't fix everything. There's no way for that. And so it's trying to get through and balance each area. Again, it's those 5. I mean, we got to survive. We got to have love and belonging. We got to have power, freedom, and fun. And being able to balance each of those areas and recognize when they're lacking, and ways to kind of, build them up and adjust each day, will be in a better spot.
That's really useful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely rest of your week.